Hey, good evening, everyone. This video is going to be the part 2 of the recomposition performance issue. And if you recall, I got a previous video. It show you some issues, performance issues, and which is a really bad user experience. Like, when even there is no date being updated, I can see the screen is blinking, flashing, and presented very poorly. So yeah, and part of the reason is it's because of the recomposition process isn't that smart as Android on desktop. And as you know, we're taking the approach which called single source of truth. So which means across the database, or say across all the layers, and there is only one single source of the truth of all the data. So which is the database in our case, right? And whenever you touch the screen and click some buttons, whatever the user interactions on the UI, and it pass through the control flow and down to the view model and then down to the database and update the data in the database. And then the database emit as flows, those data flow through up to view model and then observed by the composables. So it then updates the UI and will be presented to the customers. So this approach is good, right? This approach is good. It's no issue, especially you say like on Android, it's a wide and adapted approach to keep the data because it's very simple and the flow is simple and very straightforward, right? And the problem here in the desktop build is the desktop doesn't have a smart recomposition scheme. Right, when you got a tons of data and then only part of that being updated from the database, but the scheme of the recomposition of the desktop, it doesn't recognize, or it can determine smartly enough to say which part is changed, which part isn't, right? So it's kind of refresh the whole page and recompose all the composables nested, so it creates a nightmare issue. Here in this video, with part 2, I'm gonna show you how to solve this problem, and maybe more accurately say it's not solve the problem, right? Because we're not gonna touch the SDK source code, and what we're doing here is mostly provide you one of those options to work around this issue, right? As you can see here, it's a home screen, and if you recall that video, actually we got quite a few methods. For example, if you recall the time record, for example, right? We got to insert time record, right? Remove one time record, and so on and so on. But here, instead of doing that, we only provide batch operations and not singular one, right? So we saved all time records here as a list. And then when we restore all time records as a list as well. So in this case, for example, if the user click the button to add a new record, we won't immediately synchronize to the database. Instead of that, and we keep it in the remember mutable state within the compose. So in this case, it won't trigger the repeatedly, unnecessarily recomposition at all, and will keep the performance at a reasonable level. So that will be the workaround. But when another issue need to be solved is how we actually the timing, right? With the timing, we store or restore the data to or from the database, right? So here, as you can see. Let me maybe before that, I'll quickly show you the time records. For example, if you search this as keywords, and let's go to the first place when we click the button, right? And yeah, it's a big tab button on the screen. If I let me run this app and to make it more straightforward to demonstrate to you. So as you can see here, this is a big tab button. We click once or add a record here. But actually in this new solution, we don't insert this record into database immediately. We just keep it in the remember list and mutable list view state, right? So in this case, you can see here on tab click, we add this to the temp record, and that's all, right? We won't actually save this to the database. And then when we actually do the synchronization, there is on inter foreground and on inter background callbacks. So in these two callbacks, and for desktop build actually, it is just when inter foreground is mostly means when you open the app and the new window, and so that will trigger the on inter foreground. And in this case, we would read from the database, synchronize all the data, and including time records and into the remember state, right? You can see here, restore time record, will clear all and add this all what we're reading from the database into these time records. So that's the restore process. And on the enter background process is what we're doing here is this callback is being triggered when we exit this app. For example, we close and click the close button and exit the app, and before it actually release everything, it would ask the database to store those data into the database. So for example here, and all the time records in the memory, in the remember, in the composable, we just save the time records here to the database. So yeah, it's kind of this one of those many workarounds and can solve the problem. I think in the future, we got more practical workaround solutions I'll show you. But for now, I think it's good enough. Yeah, it's good enough to solve our problem for now. Okay, yeah, it's all about today. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.